Hey guys, Pawnce here, and recently some of you guys have been asking for a Path of Exile update video, so I figured I'd show you guys what I've been up to. Here's my latest creation, the Churchill Crocodile Flame Tank. So this thing is designed to be as tanky as possible without compromising damage in the least bit. So before I get into the details of what's going on here, let me just show you what it does. I use a Scorching Ray. We just kind of run over here, let's find a pack of things, and then I rake the laser or flamethrower, whatever you want to call it, over the enemy group, and they all just die if it touches them. Now, this is still a work in progress, so, these obviously aren't the hardest mobs in the world. I'm still Merciless. I'm like level 61, so we're not at maps and stuff yet. But they're Merciless or Cruel? No, it's Cruel mode, never mind. So there you have it. Now, if I want to do extra damage, I have some other spells that buff things up. Maximum damage, we put a Curse down, put an Orb of Storms down, then rake the fire and see, like, they literally died instantly. Well, not literally, but pretty much instantly there. So, you guys probably have a good idea of what this looks like. Pretty simple stuff. I just run around and, kill things before they get anywhere near me. So let's go back into town, and I can show you guys the details of what is going on here. So, as I already mentioned, this is Scorching Ray, and keep in mind this is a work in progress, so I'll explain what I have ready so far and what I'm going to work into the build in the future. So the reason I picked Scorching Ray is because it's a rather interesting spell. It has some unusual properties, and I haven't played Path of Exile, I think, close to 2 years. My first character in about 2 years, so I didn't want to do anything like super complicated, but at the same time, character building is the more interesting thing to me, probably more so than playing the game, just because I really love making builds. So I just wanted to do something with a little bit of unusual synergy built into it. Now, I really like the fact that Scorching Ray doesn't actually hit anyone, which comes with a number of interesting caveats there. So hit means a very specific thing in Path of Exile, which is what I really love about the game, where it's got this almost like very precise legal definition to very specific terms. So the fact that Scorching Ray doesn't actually hit anyone comes into play in a number of things, which I'll discuss here with a few of the nodes. So let's talk about the basic build, which is I started with Templar, and then I went into Inquisitor, and I'm going to get the basic stuff like Sanctify, Pious Path, probably Instruments of Virtue later on. The build itself, nothing too crazy going on here, just getting a bunch of basic stuff. A lot of regen, a lot of flat HP, which is nothing, again, nothing too amazing there. Just trying to get as tanky as humanly possible within the confines of this build. Regen is for Righteous Fire, which we'll talk about later. I can't actually use Righteous Fire yet. And damage comes from, in some instances, some incidental elemental damage I pick up along the way. For example, I kind of go out of my way to get Holy Fire. But a lot of it is going to come from, the fact that Scorching Ray just seems like a ridiculous spell on its own. I have a couple mods, which I'll show you in a minute. But Elemental Overload is quite important here. So 40% more elemental damage if you've crit in the past 8 seconds. No critical strike multiplier. So basically, this thing doesn't crit, Scorching Ray. But Orb of Storms, which is a kind of a supplemental skill I have, which I don't level, I just plunk it down. It's going to crit a whole bunch because I have improved crit stuff on it. And I'm just going to have straight up 40% more elemental damage all the time. The other thing I use, the other reason I have Orb of Storms up, is because of this thing here, Elemental Equilibrium. Enemies you hit with elemental damage temporarily get 25% resistance to those elements and negative 50% resistance to other elements. Now, normally you'd think, well, Scorching Ray, it's hitting with fire, it's going to buff the person versus fire. No, it doesn't, because Scorching Ray doesn't actually hit anyone. It just is applying the burning debuff repeatedly. So what I'm doing is I'm making them weak to fire and ice by casting a lightning spell, and making them stronger versus lightning, which I don't care about. Also, incidentally, I do also have a backup crit sort of strategy, which I may or may not keep in the build, but currently I have Blade Vortex hooked up to increased crit, increased area effect, and damage when cast when damage taken. So basically, I have 2 chances of critting, because my chances of critting are only hovering around like I think 11 to 12% per spell. So I want to keep that up as much as humanly possible. Initially, I actually wanted to use Orb of Storms as the cast on hit thing, but then I discovered it came with this fantastic little thing I didn't find out about until later, which was, where are you? Orb of Storms. You can only cast the spell yourself directly. So basically, the company, Grinding Gear Games, must have thought of this, and it's like, nope, you can't do that. That's too easy. Now, eventually, I do probably want to work in a whole bunch of more auto-cast defensive spells in, like instead of manually casting Enduring Cry, I don't really want to have to do that. Flammability, I don't really like auto-casting either, so maybe I can stick it on like a cast on, or a curse on hit, along with the Where is it? Not Scorching Ray. With the Orb of Storm, something like that. We'll work into that eventually. Now, another future thing that I do want to do is eventually get to the point where I'm tanky enough and also have enough regen to live through Righteous Fire and get even more damage that way. I don't know if the burning damage stacks. I get the impression it doesn't. I haven't actually bothered looking it up. My main interest is just sort of incidental burning damage around the character. So if I'm firing the flamethrower forward, I can turn the flamethrower really quickly, as you guys saw earlier. But, you know, things behind me will die immediately into the side. And it also buffs, like, straight-up spell damage. So that's what we have going there. Currently, I have Flame Golem. I may want to switch out later on to, I think it was Ice Golem. Basically, no, it was Stone Golem was the one that provides regen, like, for maybe extra regen. Right now, I'm running Vitality. Again, regen. So I'm working towards, again, Righteous Fire. So I'm currently still actually running Purity of Fire, which I probably don't need to have on right now, but I'm lazy, so I just leave it on. So yeah, that's what we have going there. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about with the build? Oh yeah, currently I'm running Flame Dash as a movement speed, you know, just kind of a teleport. I might actually swap that out for Leap Slam just so I can activate, what is that thing called there? The buff on Instruments of Virtue, so what is it? 30% increased cast speed if you've attacked recently. So Flame Dash is a spell, so it wouldn't activate that. Of course, Scorching Ray is also a spell, so it wouldn't activate that. So if I just kind of leap around occasionally, I could get, you know, an occasional incidental buff. So, yeah, that's that. Why don't we just run around a little bit and show you guys what this thing does here. So, get a potion going. Be nice if I could find, like, maybe a breach or something. Because, again, like, I've sort of out-leveled this area, so there's nothing too interesting going on here. But that's a lot of enemies in a boss type thing, so let's just really debuff him. Oh, that's the great thing, too. So since I rake the flamethrower over, I can roughly calculate when the thing's going to die. So even like a boss or a magical type mob, I'll see how much damage he's taking, and like, okay, I don't need to flamethrower you anymore, and just start focusing on other things. So a bunch of junk here. I'll probably go back and pick that up after the video's done, but let's see if we can find an interesting pack somewhere. Not really. I think you guys get the idea. I see you guys see the Blade Vortex going on there. That's just for a better chance, again, at critting stuff. Oh, I could probably show you guys. I mean, the DPS is not super accurate or anything, but just sitting here with nothing, I'm roughly hovering around 3,000 DPS. And I get this thing to crit. Hopefully that we can get that thing to crit. And then I also sit inside my, what is it, Consecrated Ground. If I could get that to go off. See, even with that, I'm hovering close to 5,000 listed DPS there. But that's also ramping damage, and then it's also, like, over time it gets to be more, and it also debuffs people, so that's also going to factor in terms of the damage I deal against people. And I'm also debuffing people with flammability. So, honestly, this, at least for this point in the game, I don't know how it'll turn out later, but it's certainly, again, at this point in the game, probably one of the stronger, if not the strongest things, or most efficient kind of murder things around you. Builds I've done. In terms of items, I don't really like talking about items in these videos because I tend to do, like, I'm not entirely against trading. I'm just more so lazy about it. So I never really think about, you know, uniques and stuff. It's just like if I happen to get it, I get it. I'm more so about kind of like doing the self-found thing, which is not an official mode yet. But I generally speaking, I just do solo self-found. So I don't like to rely on or being dependent on having certain items. Especially for like a new character when I'm starting from scratch and I have nothing to work from. The one thing I did look at was, like, I think there was some kind of scepter that has like an innate level 30 Iron Will. Oh yeah, I was going to show you the support gems. Yeah, Iron Will. So currently with Scorching Ray, I'm running Elemental Focus, Controlled Destruction, and Iron Will. That's why, again, the whole tanky thing seems to work quite well, because I have a lot of strength, so it's buffing it up quite a bit. Now, there's a number of other things I can kind of throw in here with the Scorching Ray. I don't remember what they are, but in terms of damage, I think, like, Increased Burning works with it. There are a few others. That's the one limitation of Scorching Ray, is a lot of supports don't actually work with it because it doesn't actually hit. So, you need to be careful of the wording of the spell itself. So, yeah, that's kind of it. Like I said, if I wanted to work in certain types of items, I'm sure I could make it more efficient. But at the same time, that's also what I like about this build too, is like it doesn't need a whole bunch of weird items to work. It's super tanky, does tons of damage on its own, and I don't need to really worry about anything. And I'm having a lot of fun with it just because, well, it just seems so efficient. I just run in and... Oh, here, there's a breach. Now, breaches are actually kind of dangerous. I have noticed that. Because we're in the breach league here. If anyone's wondering, this is hardcore, so, you know, hence the excessive worry about just being as tanky as possible. Let's take this guy out here before we do anything. And, okay, we've cleared out, I would say, a sufficient area. Alright, let's just put one of these down here. Get that down in advance. Those up. So I just spin that around with my damage there. The clasp hand there, pick that thing up. Try and find some more mobs up here before. Oh, there's something. Is that guy so... Oh, he is supposed to be there, yeah. That guy's tough. Ah, ran out of time. Yeah, I didn't notice he was up there. Probably if I killed something nice would have happened, but... Like I said, I don't want to like push myself too hard in the video. And, I didn't have enough time to get the DPS down. He's relatively tough. Any case, that's the build. Hope you guys found this interesting. I've been playing this character probably for a couple days now, so nice to be back in Path of Exile. Really fun, excellent game. I wasn't like super detailed with what I was talking about in terms of the video, so like for those of you new to Path of Exile might not have much of an idea what was going on, but feel free to ask me in the comments and whatnot, and I can elaborate. And those of you familiar with Path of Exile probably had a pretty good idea what was happening. So yeah. Thanks again. See you around. I'll probably stream this again at some point. I did stream it the other day, so stay tuned to the channel for potential streaming of this thing. Hope to be doing maps and stuff soon. Goodbye.